The silence started small. Mornings were just the drip of the coffee maker. No conversation, no laughter. I used to make coffee for two, his blue mug always beside mine. Now I make enough for one. The blue mug stays in the cupboard, untouched. He left earlier each day, saying it was for traffic, but I knew it was to avoid us. The quiet between us grew, louder than any argument. I'd stand in my old robe, staring out the window, feeling the weight of what was ending. We stopped sharing the little things, the stories, the dreams, the jokes. The silence became a wall and we lived on opposite sides. He'd come home late, barely saying hello, already lost in his own world. We moved around each other like strangers, apologizing for bumping into each other, but never for the distance. It was easier to pretend than to admit we were lost. The silence wasn't just quiet, it was everything we were too afraid to say. It was the sound of a slow, painful goodbye. And every morning the echo in the coffee pot reminded me we were drifting apart. I used to love cooking dinner, filling the kitchen with warmth and hope. Now I eat leftovers over the sink, the table just a landing spot for mail. Last Friday I tried again. New dress, hair done, waiting for him to come home for a party. He was supposed to be home by 7. He came back close to midnight. He didn't notice the dress or ask about the party, just mumbled about work and went to bed. I quietly hung the dress back in the closet, feeling foolish. That night I realized I'd stopped explaining myself. He wasn't listening. The silence became my surrender, my white flag. I stopped asking, stopped waiting up, stopped trying. I started eating alone, going to bed early, accepting the quiet. It was a sad acceptance, a quiet grief for a love fading away. One unnoticed dress, one uneaten dinner at a time. The effort felt wasted, the connection gone. I was tired of waiting for someone who was already gone. The silence became my only company. This house was once filled with laughter, paint on our faces, music in the air. Every corner holds a memory. Dancing in the living room, watching storms from the window seat. Now, those memories haunt me, louder than the silence. Sometimes I almost hear his laughter, feel his hand on my back, but it's just a ghost. The joy of the past makes the loneliness now feel sharper. I found an old photo album, our first vacation, smiles, hands held, eyes full of hope. I didn't recognize us in those photos. Our connection didn't vanish overnight, it eroded slowly. Looking at those pictures didn't make me angry, just sad for who we were and who we became. I closed the album, unable to look anymore. The ghosts of our past were too loud. They screamed of a love that now only exists in faded photographs. The house is a museum of happiness that's gone, and I am its only visitor. One evening I sat at the kitchen table and wrote him a letter. I poured out everything I couldn't say, memories, loneliness, the green velvet dress, how invisible I felt. The words came easily, a confession and a goodbye. For a moment I felt relief. The truth was real, on paper. But as I read it back, hopelessness set in. He wouldn't read it, or if he did, he wouldn't understand. The letter wouldn't bridge the distance between us. Giving it to him would only lead to more silence. I folded the letter and hid it in my jewelry box. It became a secret testament to the end of us. A note never sent, a conversation never had. My final silent admission that we were done. There was nothing left to say. The silence had already said it all. Sometimes the truest words are the ones left unspoken. The end didn't come with a crash, but a whisper. We crossed paths in the hallway, sharing sad smiles. There was no anger left, just a shared sense of loss. He started packing his things one Sunday, moving quietly through the house. I watched, knowing what was happening. No tears, no shouting, just a final silent act of separation. When he was done, he stood by the door, eyes full of regret. "I'm sorry," he said, voice thick with emotion. "Me too," I whispered. We weren't enemies, just two people who had loved and lost. He left quietly, the silence he left behind different now. The house felt bigger, hollowed out. Love doesn't always leave with drama, sometimes it just slips away. It fades in the quiet moments, the unspoken words, the slow drift. All that's left is the echo of what used to be.